It's Friday, October 7th, 2022. I'm in this. Um, a while back. Tonight is PTA and movie night. I needed a coffee, so I went over to the local Starbucks to get a coffee. I didn't have enough money on the card, so I had to add money. The cashier was very nice that was in there. And then as I was leaving, the one of the baristas who had ignored me, but who worked there for a while, came up to me and he said that he would have to call the authorities because of the banning from a while back. And I'm like, again, here's my problem with the public here inside Bayside Station in New York 11361. One is I went into that Starbucks as almost like a shelter to meet community since there's no community center. I was a paying customer. I spent about $40 a day at that point with money from my father. And so I was an active paying customer. I sat there, I had lunch there, I would see some of the people that would gather, that I guess, whatever community. We would talk sometimes they would just gather by themselves. It was a normal neighborhood spot, like a piazza in Italiano. So that was that. One day, I go in and I asked for a cup of tea. The cashier had an issue, but he always has this air about him, which I don't engage in. I'm there to order, to pay, and to go about my business. Um, then the manager came over and said that he would honor my request. And then all of a sudden, the next day, when I went into the local Starbucks, they said I wasn't allowed back in and that they would no longer serve me. No. They are of a different ethnicity. Not that that should play into it, but I don't know if they have a prejudice against someone like myself. However, I'm a paying customer. I've gone in there, I went in there for years. It was like 3 years. I sat at that counter. I spoke to some of the people working there. I knew the manager without incident. Smiles, kind, courteous, professional. That's how I conduct myself in public for good reason. And so I got banned because he was having a bad day. And then the entire story got blown out of proportion to the point where I went in just to order my coffee and asked to leave by local NYPD saying that they didn't want to serve me anymore. But no paperwork, no reason, there was nothing, and I didn't do anything. Just they just chose no longer to serve me. I don't know if it's a lawsuit, but if it is, I'd like a lawyer to contact me because there's a lot of things that go on in this area that I don't think is right. And it seems like somebody uses these offenses like a lottery or a slot machine for which I don't participate in and I don't know how to capitalize on. But it seems some are living really well off the system. Um, so anyhow, so I went in there today. I received my coffee, but I was polite. I just thank you for, and I went to go leave, and then he said that next time you have to call the authorities, and I'm like, I'm not following because again, this particular employee who wasn't there. It was a manager, Kevin, and the nasty employee who's nasty to just about everybody. But again, I don't engage in the nastiness. It's just his persona. I get it. I pay. I order. I pay. I move on. I don't make a thing of it. Now I am. So that happened. Then I am thinking to myself now, I'm watching back over on my Facebook. So if we talk about Facebook investigations, for Facebook, I don't know, it equates out to FBI, but like whatever, I'm like, who's keeping letters? So I'm noticing there's this new TV series called Ghosts. Now, in the church that I went to, the one that does not wear Jesus Christ as the Lord on the front jacket of the book, just the Christian version of King James Bible, which is what we use in this area of the Americas or the North America. It's been consistently throughout my life frame that when it comes to Bible study or Bible spoken, it's King James Version, KJV. So I've read through, I've sat with representatives from denominations that I didn't ask them for their seminary qualifications. Again, I don't really know how this works. I was looking for Jesus, God, and some guidance. I thought the church was a good place to begin in a lifelong career of service. I thought the church was a good place to begin. I apparently have lost the calling because it's there. It's just, it won't participate with me and perhaps the way I need. I'm not quite sure. So, anyhow, and in a land that prides itself on freedom from religious persecution, might I add. So, here I am in this, whatever this is. And the book I just received of Jesus Christ, a further Jesus Christ, the one from the Americas, because the other one I believe references Jerusalem. And then there's the one that is specifically dedicated for the Americas. So I was reading upon that, and they, like in the King James Version, there's a distinction they have used in my presence. And again, I'm not in like, I don't know who to check with this on, who is the ultimate in this, but they reference 3 words. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is what I've heard in some of the ongoings of the church. Then there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's this new addition to the King James Bible that I've read at an earlier stage. In print inside of New York State, where I've been in some man department as myself, let's just say, with the man upstairs being, I'm assuming when I got here, there was a man upstairs that was already at the golden engraved supper plate. And there are people that know this. And so I don't know how that ties into things. But so now there's this new show called Ghosts, GHOSTS, on the networks. I have not seen it. However, I know in that TV producer land and in the movie producer land, with the actors that have an academy and award each other for all sorts of things and worship each other, their careers, their like whatever, all things I'm not a part of. I'm at like gas chambers on the street level of intelligence and daily effects, trying to just get enough, or like a career where I can get paid just to do whatever and to find the person that I was intended for originally, however that works. So as I'm doing this, there on my Facebook page, there's this random participant that I did not necessarily befriend, I don't think, but tracked me down on Facebook. However, technology works. I don't know. I'm FIT in Ronald Reagan Fit, but I don't know how the Fit bit at FIT attached itself to my Facebook and how to get non acceptable participants off of my Facebook. I have no idea how that works in technology land. Um, but I'm watching Miss Ghosts, and there is this Facebook person that randomly attaches my name to his profile when he posts certain things, which I don't know how to get off. I don't have a computer. I post stuff on my Facebook page, almost like a trail or of what I go through in my day-to-day effects for brother and grandfather star, of like there's real, I mean, again, Eric at World Gym, when he says to me, like, you want to talk about having a girl totally be speechless and feeling like she's 5 and looking at God himself on the treadmill. I mean, he says to me, I asked him what he did for a living. He said he was into astrology and numerology. I, I I was rendered speechless. I mean, I lost all control of thought and words, and I had to like process. It was like I glitched. It was like being in the Matrix and glitching. Like, well, wait, wait a minute. I was like, because nobody says that. I was like, is there a name for that? He's like, yes, astrology and numerology, and I'm like, that is so cool. I mean, like, I had no other. I was not prepared for that. Um, So anyhow, um, so like he follows me on Facebook. I'm all right, but like this, whatever this is, and I also saw that this person who attached himself to my Facebook somehow, also references himself as though he's inside the FBI, and I'm like, now is that part of the Facebook investigations? Because I'm pretty sure, uh, oh Jesus Christ, and the whatever of Je suis and knowing a couple of things, I'm pretty sure there's a problem with certain people like farming, tracking, and yesterday I took a photo. I realized I had an Atari over my head. I didn't know what it was at first. Wouldn't have even put two and two together, but I saw that there was like this mark over my head in the painting behind me. Um, when I was talking about disgruntled whatever. And then today I'm walking on Bell Boulevard, just doing my exercise thing, and this random stranger is waiting at the meter and turns to me and has the symbol on his t-shirt. And then underneath it, it says Atari. And I'm like, oh, there's a word that goes with the symbol, and I just happened to see that symbol over my head yesterday in a photo on my Facebook page for whoever does scheduling of like God's creatures like just bumping into one another these days. Um, so I thought that was interesting, and then I'm like, what the heck? I know Atari was a video game system, but I don't know what it was about. So I looked it up, and then it said something about hit, strike, and always right. And I'm like, that's fascinating. Now, is that for him or me? I was like, I wasn't clear. But anyhow, so that happened to me on the streets of Bell Boulevard today. So, anyhow, so now I see on 10/5 they mentioned this Ghosts TV show, GHOSTS. I don't know what sorcery is behind this, but the man who is a character, if you follow the words that he says, knowing that I have a brother star and there's some religious context in Truth Be Told somewhere in the world, um, and like love of like God, country, and family, um, there is this seething, bubbling up, like coincidence about this white woman who runs the hotel, um, has a near-death experience and is able to see ghosts. And she interacts with a bunch of different ghosts. But this other gentleman who did not have the near-death experience cannot speak to or see the ghosts, but he helps her run the hotel. I'm like, this is really very whatever in coinkydinks, or coincidences that like I could just really use a life change. I mean, all of this like build up, I mean, it really would have just been wonderful if the first time I entered a bar in Queens, because I got called there, Maria and Melissa took me to some place in Sunnyside, in Queens when I first moved there. And then there was like this whole like parade of people that just showed up, and we were just sitting there, and I was talking to the bartender after he called to my attention how good looking he was. And I was like, "Oh, you are really good looking." I was like, "I apologize." I was like, "I'm not used to coming to this. Like, I hear this is a bar." I was like, "I really don't drink. I don't know. My parents don't drink and don't go to bars. I mean, like, again, it was like being on a movie set. I mean, like, really, for me, I had no idea what to expect. I was like, I've heard that, like, some of the other relatives go to these establishments and places, but I had no idea. I mean, like, are all bartenders as good looking as you? I mean, literally, that was one of my questions. I mean, again, not knowing, like, I mean, I'm just in the field in like some exploratory, I don't know what, and not wanting to like get myself in like moral and peril and virtue problems. But it was like a closed door event. There was security at the front. I come in and there was nobody else there. And then people arrived but then left. Like they come in, they look, and then they leave. It was, I don't know, like if it was a VIP event, like a MVP event, I could have been both. I really don't know. But that happened, and I don't know. I think I was I 18 yet? 17? I don't know. I didn't even know. I'm like, now when you come to this kind of a field trip, like I know they asked for my driver's license, which I drive, so like I had been 17. I was like, but again, I didn't know, is there an age limit? I mean, like, who sets these rules? I mean, like, I didn't get a pamphlet at high school before when they made the invitation to come to this field trip of sorts. I mean, again, it was in something called a Sunnyside, no less, wherever in Queens that might be. The people that showed up and then left, or made note and then left, or introduced themselves and then left, they would know who they were. I was just new in the neighborhood from Long Island, and there was just a really good looking bartender. That's all I know. And I only noticed after he pointed out just how good looking he was. I mean, again, at first, like, I didn't even know, like, where do you look? Like, do you just talk with the people you're with? Like, it's a big wide world out there, and like, it's not too many experiences. So um I'm watching this thing, and there's the way that they explain this ghosts thing, and I'm like, is this really necessary? I mean, like, I'm ghosted in the field. I would really prefer to have some, like, I've I'm looking. I think I found some people that know a thing or two about God for clarity that I've been missing out on. Thank God they showed up. Then there's this country thing I'm trying to find out about. I mean, like, I know I have one. I know I'm in one. I know there's symbols of it. I know I hear people on the sorcery board speak on it, but it's very, very confusing. And then there's the familial part, which I'm definitely missing because I've got Lin and Lou, and that's about it. And I'm still in like teen mode of like, what happened? Like 70s, uber important 70s, and then turned into the 90s chick. And I don't know what happened at the 90 mark. It seems to have taken a turn for the worse. And I don't know how to like right this ship around. I don't.
I have one of my favorite Talk of the Tables because it is one of my favorite shows, and we got one of the stars. I'm talking about the hit CBS show Ghost, and the star is Utkarsh Abudkar. He played.
So I don't know how I got a Facebook stalker that refers to himself as FBI that looks like this. That is not what my bartender looked like. Bartender looked very much like something familial. I have no idea how this cast of characters got put together. And again, like, as far as like storytelling goes from afar, I haven't been consulted. I don't have a business manager. There's no like, I think in like the sports community, they get like business managers and consultants, image consultants and lawyers and all sorts of stuff when you join a circus. I don't understand how, by virtue of my birth and the birth of the special child I was to bring to the world in astrology and numerology, and Eric being as important as Eric is, especially in my life frame, little confused as to how, especially since there was someone who had 103 fever somewhere else along the way. I think that person arrived right after Alexander had a St. John's Baptist baptism reference. I have the certificate that I have the paperwork on. So again, like, there's been no image consultants, business consultants. There's been no I want to know where my bartender from like 1995, 96 went. Like, he seemed to know things. I don't know if he set up the VIP MVP thing. I didn't know he was going to be there. I didn't know who he was. I still don't know who he was. But the security at the door, I didn't know, is that what happens when you go to a bar? Like, these humans, they're very confusing. Like, I try not to go where I'm not supposed to go, but then I don't even know where you're allowed to go, where are you not allowed to go. I don't even have Brother Star to like ask as a reference, in his wisdom of being 45, and I'm only 44. And then I'm sure there's a plethora of qualified other brothers that I have an anniversary with every year that I haven't even met yet, and I have no idea why.
All right, he plays Jay. There's Jay on the right. All right, now the show's a little hard to explain, but I'm going to do my best. In the show, he and his wife Sam move into an old estate and open up a bed and breakfast.
And now this is what concerns me. This Facebook stalker guy with this ghost thing calls this white woman his wife. Why? In W if E. Because that's how you spell wife. W if E. And again, at Bell, the B could be an 8, and the E could be a 3 if it was turned the opposite way. Another way it looked like an omega, or it could look like a W. And then the LL, is that 0 to 100? Because in Roman numerals, it gets a little confusing. Just in a alternate format that is still in a je suis. My grandfather learned it. Not that it was taught, but I think he taught me once on the drawing board or the drafting board of his art studio. Hard to remember that long back, especially with the integrated services of mind, body, and soul connection and the access to one's own memory catalog being as hard to retrieve as bumping into just like some good-looking star from your area of the galaxy.
There. Little do they know, however, that there are ghosts already in the bed and breakfast. So after Sam suffers a near-death accident, she hits her head, suddenly she can now see and talk to all the ghosts in the bed and breakfast. They include a hippie, there's a Wall Street bro.
Now, she hits her head. I don't know if this has any context to the sting operation where I actually got stung. The time I can remember I got stung, as opposed to some of the other events where I just come to almost like with a ranger, a park ranger of some sort, which I don't even know if that's the correct words because I don't know where they work, but I've seen on Big Cat Diary, or like when they're out in Africa and they work on the elephants or the rhinoceros, the veterinarians, when they dart one of the animals, they get groggy and they go down. Or even in North America, I've seen where it's like one of the wild animals, like a bear or something, they'll dart them, they go down, and then they come back up, and then they like scurry off, and the vet like watches from whatever. So now, by hitting your head, I mean, I do have a flat patch on the back of my skull. No idea where that came from, if I was born with that or if that happened somewhere along the way. But it just does leave so much interesting questions on my part, for which I know somebody has an answer. They just seem to avoid ever running into me. Gee, I wonder why, except when I can't remember.
Oh, there's a woman from the beginning of the 20th century. Everybody through all time who's died on the property is there. Almost everybody. But Jay, who I'm about to introduce... You're doing great. All right, thank you, Jay. Jay over here.
Says you're doing great, Tony.
Thank you, Jay. Jay cannot see them.
I cannot. He's right.
With that, Labor, am I good?
Now, what's interesting is Romer had a set of, or 1976, had this, he went to this technology school, then he got hired after right before the dot-com thing by some people that looked like this. Not my cup of tea. It was right around the time where, like, I woke up and hands around my neck and whatever, just after I had been slashed in my sleep. So, and like going about my day and like everybody just acting like everything was normal. I mean, there's no need to worry. Right. Okay. But I keep getting hurt. And now I have a baby on the way and like there's just ghost town. So anyway, so he had that employment before he got on NYPD. And then there was, which then seemed to follow him with whatever he does on the force. And then there was a person, Frank, who was warned to leave the relationship, to not even start a relationship with me. I think on the first night, he took me to something called a Roadhouse, which was a billiards place, which is where the movie Stealth, Stealth, there were people that showed up there, Kathy Taylor and Paul Thompson. They made a memory for themselves that memorialized that night for me with meeting the pilots that had come off. They were on the movie. They had the jackets. They wanted me to see the jackets. They had to remind themselves that I had no idea who they were or what they were talking about. And they had to just engage me in some conversation because I do play along, trying to follow. I'm not rude or mean or nasty ever. But I have no idea when somebody sends me a gift or tries to bring me into a revelation or a message that's going to be important for both of us at some point. I've never, in that historic moment, it seems so ordinary to me. And I don't know how to, whatever it. So anyhow, Frank later dragged me into, he was working at this Adecco firm. And there was he was a business analyst apparently for Adecco. Did not know what that meant. Had never even heard of that career. Wasn't a career that was available to me. And he had an entire floor of people that looked like this as technicians. He also had some other manager who held the door for me, which I thought was really a very chivalrous and gentleman thing to do. As I was leaving to go to the parking lot, who looked very fleur-de-lis, charmé. And so that also on Eyewitness and record I had no idea why I was being called into the office. I thought I was just going to lunch with him. And then to see what was there and not know, they said they were an employment firm. I had no idea what that meant. Then they wanted me to go on the website because I needed a job at that point. They wanted me out of real estate. And I was trying to get some kind of salary position, which eventually I got the Chase thing. But let's put it this way, for Brother Star. If we're in one of your like large accounting meetings, which I've never been to, it would be represented by a 3-8 X10, and the exponent would be 3. That's how low on the numeration scale the local area was paying me at Jamie Dimon's gigantic conglomerate called Chase, as a banking institution within the same country for which I am and have been the entire time. Where I also passed background check and then got further securities licenses.
My ghost now,
You got it, Tony.
With that simple setup, I'm going to toss the clip from an upcoming episode. Take a look.
Oh, boy.
So were you just shooting around?
No, I played pickup, and I met some really cool locals, and they found out that we run the Woodstone B&B, and they were so into it.
Are we like local celebrities?
Hey, so listen, Micah mentioned that they might want to come over tomorrow and watch the game. Oh, Micah's kind of like their leader.
The leader?
Boss? They work together? I don't know. Anyway, would that be cool?
Well, it sounds to me like somebody made some friends. Good for you for putting yourself out there.
Come on, babe. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, what are you, his mom?
No, it's just it's been harder on Jay. We both left our friends in the city, but I have all you guys to talk to, and I know that sometimes he must feel left out.
Yeah, like now. Could be one of those times.
Oh, sorry, I just... Exactly.
And Karsh joins us now. I love
And you really are a fan, too.
I am a huge fan.
Yes,
My
yeah,
whole
it's obvious.
family, yes, we accosted you, my wife and I. My whole family's watched every episode of season 1. We're very excited about season 2.
I've never seen an episode. I've seen clips of it. But in that real life scenario, with this Adecco, whatever business rollout thing that was going on, which I don't know what that was like the cover story that they provided me. He was warned in the parking lot to leave me alone, and he did not. The man was extremely tall, and of thinner build, and he was trying to get me to realize that Frank, they had this whole conversation. He says, I know you've heard about her. I know you've heard some of the words used about her. There's a lot of things about her that she doesn't even know right now. And I can't approve of this relationship. And you shouldn't be anywhere near her. First of all, you're under 6 foot. She only dates tall men. And that was something that got paired together on something called Match. And shortly after that, I believe is when Houston sent in someone, which I much preferred. And whatever happened after that, and whatever. And I'm not getting into it. But at that Roadhouse with those two very specific people, and Paul having worked at the radio station COX for WBLI, which is 106.1 in the local radio station area. That was, he and Kathy were together, like first time they ever met. So this way there was like a real anchor in mooring, bearing, and grapple, like anchor hook for the special meeting of the taller set of messengers, I suppose you could call them.
But it is a hard show to explain. When I tell people how excited I am, they say, what's it about? And then I kind of stumble. So how do you do it?
It's a family comedy. It's a workplace comedy about a bunch of ghosts trying to learn how to live. And
So they live in current times, and they live in
yeah, well,
You got a
times.
Viking, you've
yeah,
got
we got a
Boy Scout.
Thank God they're all up here. Viking. We got a Boy Scout. We got a Baroness, and there are basically a bunch of different people from different walks of life who are all forced to live in this house together. And now, luckily, there's these two humans who can sort of help them work through all their historical issues. So it's for everybody. I mean, it's one of the
is.
yeah.
Really?
I'm late to the ghost party because I thought when I heard the premise, I went, nah.
Like, is this some TV producers like therapy for like what's going on right now in New York in like some offset paradox, paramount, counterintelligence, counterintuitive way that's using my real life field experience without paying me for it, without giving me anything for consultation or any of my hardship for having to actually live through this disgusting arrangement without my permission of even having to go through it, no less. I mean, again, just curious, because I know there's been a lot of things that I've been dragged into and through that I did not agree to, and things that I needed were withheld from me.
Nah, Tony was always raving about it. I went, nah.
You and I both, Gail.
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
What did you think when you read it? I just thought, how could this possibly be good? But it's so good.
I was like, Gail, I got kids. The schools are expensive. Let me get that sitcom money.
No,
But
no, it's a beautiful premise, and it's really funny. And I watched the BBC version, and I was really tickled. I mean, it's really nice, and it's a diverse cast, and it's really cool that Rose and I get to play opposite each other, and
it's well written.
It's
you do a
very
tremendous
well
job
written.
acting. Everybody does.
I think that it's occurring to me what's so great about it is like all the comedy that you're used to seeing in a sitcom is instead jokes between people who are spread out across centuries. So you get this like weird historical dimension that makes it so good.
And some of these characters can say things that modern characters could not.
Yes.
Because you can't cancel them.
Exactly, right.
I'm surprised they're safe for TV, to be honest with you. This is some of this on the line.
For CBS, I think we're pushing the envelope. People really like it.
I was really excited for your character because at the end of the last season, your character who cannot see the ghost had a fall, and I thought maybe you'd be able to see him.
Now, at pushing the envelope, is that one of those references at organized crime where they pay off certain people while completely ignoring some of the blatantly obvious that need help? Again, I don't really know how charity works in tax shelters. I could fathom if I sit here long enough and then OCD myself inside of that whatever at HNK. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.